Thank you for having me tonight. It's really a pleasure to be here. Um, I can't tell you how all this came together, but it's rather overwhelming. I'm going to give you some history of what Dick Phelan and myself had gone through. Richard and I grew up on the hill. He lived on Howard Street. I lived on Vernon Street, which is about a half a block over and about 2 blocks down. And we met each other in 4th grade, went all through high school, and we were personal friends, and we still are. And we kind of always worked together, so to speak, in certain ways. And I was interested in sports when I was a kid, but I was never very good at it. When I found my niche in music, I didn't know how good I was, but I knew I enjoyed it a lot more. So as far as it goes, we weren't sure what was going to happen with our lives. And we went through a lot of changes to get to where we eventually got to. Dick and I were in a group of high school kids that hung out together. We were called the Organization. And at that time I had my first group, the Endells. And we were playing local places with the Endells and the Organization. For high school kids, we were making a little jack there. And then from there, as we progressed, Dick opened up a place called the Front Street Barn, which is on Front Street. It's now, I think, a Kokomo's. And we played there for a while. We were cutting our teeth there because there was a transition point between the Endells, the Delcords, and the Magnificent Men, and the evolution of that, how we got together. I got out of hack and with no visible means of employment. So I was looking for some guys to go on the road with to try to make a living out of music. I had no idea that my brother, Andy Angelucci, is here. I'd like him to stand up because he's very special to me. He's such a great influence as far as music goes to me. And he actually made the connection for us with our management firm in the Magnificent Men. But let me get back to what I was saying as far as the Front Street Barn. It was sort of a place where we were cutting our teeth, the transition point. The Endells were breaking up, and the Delcords had broken up already. A number of their people got drafted, and some of the guys in the Endells, one of them just got married, and one just got a big job with, he was the first black management trainee with Bell Telephone, John Scales. He did very well in the company. And Milt Palmer was still in high school. And the Endells had 10 people in it, and I knew I couldn't do anything that big. Most groups in those days had a rhythm section with 3 or 4, maybe 5 singers out front. They set the pace for the Harrisburg area. And Harrisburg area was very big in rhythm and blues music. Harrisburg, New York, and Lancaster were like that you know, triangle of county areas were really hot with classic rhythm and blues. But, so we started to work out some things at the Front Street Barn. I lost a guitar player from that. He was going to school. I lost a baritone sax player. He was going to school. I lost a guitar player. So it was like rebuilding. I only had 4 people. And when I heard that the Delcords had broken up, when we were playing at the Front Street Barn, Buddy King, one of the lead singers in Delcord, came in one night, it was on a Sunday night, and we had him sit in and sing a couple songs with us because we did a lot of the songs that they did and vice versa. So it sounded pretty good. Subsequent to that, about 2 months later, I started talking to Dave Buck, and one thing led to another. I was able to set up a rehearsal, and for some reason, and I can't explain this, sometimes it happens in music, sometimes it doesn't. it was just a chemistry between the 7 people in that band, the musicians and the vocalists, where everything just worked. We don't know why it fell together like that. We knew it as soon as we started rehearsing. And it just progressed into something that became better the more we worked at it. I never felt we reached perfection, but I felt that we got pretty close at times. So from there, Dick was opening the Raven Teen Club, and he asked us to be the house band there. And that's, at that time, we were called the Magnificent Seven. Okay, so we we were there as the house band, and we played our material, and we played cover material of other groups who had various hits. And then Richard started to pull us into an arena that was different. Started bringing in big acts, and as the house band, you know who had to do what? Us. And by the way, on that note, I do have a handout. If anyone does not have this, this is a listing of all the groups we backed up while we were there. We were there almost a year and a half as the house band at the Raven, and it was a great experience. I don't think people realized just how quickly all that happened in the course of one day. The acts came in the same day they were performing, and usually about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we got together. They all had a conductor. Most of the conductors were guitar players, and occasionally it was a piano player, but most of them were guitar players. They gave us the sheet music, and we went through all the material of their show, and that's how it developed. Then the doors opened, if I recall, at 7, I think, and I think we started at 8 o'clock. Yeah, and the rest is history as far as the success of the Raven. The Ravens were extraordinary. No one has ever had such a great undertaking of bringing in a great variety of, at that time, the top R&B acts, and it was just unbelievable. We couldn't believe how many people we got in that place. I mean, it was hard. Well, if you were there, you know. But the brain trust of all this was Richard Phelan. He was the man. He's the guy. I've known him, as I said, since 4th grade, and I love the guy. He just was always such a go-getter. Dick and I had two things. We both had two things. Both of us had something in common. We were always hungry for what we did. Okay, and we still are. And he just he's the kind of guy that sets his mind to something, he's going for it, and he did. And God bless him, he's been exceptionally successful, and it couldn't go to a better person. So thank you, Dick, so much. You know, and his late brother Joe was another great person in my life. He was another guy that was talented in a different way. I always remember Joe as one of the best dressed guys I've ever seen. He could wear anything and it looked great. But the other thing is his talent was in designing, interior decorating, or designing anything. We played, the irony is that we played at the Raven, and then he started designing other businesses. And when we formed Class Act featuring Rita in 1980, there was a place next to the East Mall, and he designed it. It was called Paradise Alley. And Paradise Alley was our first job in Class Act featuring Rita. And if you hadn't been there, when you walk in, it was like, it was a street. You felt like you were on the outside instead of the inside. Just a brilliant design. But what a talented guy and what a great person. I miss him dearly. But Richard and I were both blessed with two great brothers, and to carry this on as to what transpired from that is we were playing at the Raven Teen Club, and my brother was on the road. My brother has played all over the world. He had one of the most famous comedy show groups, Ford and Angel, and I mean they played any place and every place. And my brother was on the road for, I don't know, can you tell me how many years you were on the road? 30 years. Oh my gosh. That itself is an achievement, because the lifespan of the Magnificent Men with the original guys was only 5 years, between 65 and 70. Now they continued to play for another couple of years, but the group had changed, the style of music changed and so forth. Music was changing. Anyway, my brother had mentioned to his management team, Oceanic Productions Limited in New York City, that he said, you know, my brother's got a group, and he said, they're just as good, if not better, than some of the groups up here. He said, you should hear them, bring them in. So the connection of that was as a result of my brother with what became our management firm. So we got an audition. They brought us up for an audition in New York City at the Peppermint Lounge. And it was with Johnny Maestro and the Crests. So, you know, we're young and dumb. We're not sure exactly what's going on. We ran in tuxedos, okay? And Johnny Maestro went on after they went on, and they opened up, and we were all going, are they really that good? But he was by far one of my favorite and one of the best vocalists I've ever heard. But his band was dynamite too. So we did the second set, and it was, you know, it went pretty well, we thought. They weren't used to horn groups though. As I said, at that time, most groups had just rhythm sections with front people. So that was a change for them. My brother's group, he was the one, he was the innovator that gave me the idea about the horns, because he had, you know, he's a trumpet player, one of the best you'll ever hear to this day. And he had a four-piece group. He had a, you know, bass, or not bass, keyboard, Hammond B3 that they played bass on, and foot pedals, sax and trumpet and drums. And then they had, he went eventually from singers to comedians. But so we both were in New York City with something a little bit different. So we did that set, and one of the managers came up and pulled my hanky out, which had a piece of cardboard on it. It wasn't even real handy. Okay. So he wrote down on it, he said, here's my number, call me. We'll go have coffee. His name was Frankie C. The other manager's name was Ron Gibbon. But that's how we got the connection through my brother Andy. Because things were happening a little quicker than we anticipated, because shortly thereafter we had an audition at Capitol Records. So we went over to Capitol Records, which was at 46th and 7th Avenue. Big sound studio like this. It was arched. Beautiful though. Greatest sound in the world. And so they said, okay, let's see what you do. So we played Stormy Weather, and we didn't get through the song. The guy said, okay, you got it. Okay, so subsequent to that, we ended up meeting and discussing contracts and so forth. And they gave us a 3-year deal, a 3-album deal, which is kind of standard. If I tell you you make on records, though, and you'd laugh, you wouldn't believe me, but I'll tell you anyway. It's like 3 cents on a single and about 10 cents on an album. So you had to sell a heck of a lot of albums. Anyway, we occasionally came back to the Raven too, though. I remember when we came back one time, and Richard posted our contract, because compared to what we were making prior to signing with Capitol and touring, that was one amount. But when we came back, he said, I want you to see what these Harrisburg guys have done, but it was all attributed to him because he's the one that really promoted us. I don't think that people realize that what happened to us was something strange but wonderful. We worked our butts off backing up all these groups, but all these groups, they knew us. They knew us very well. Places that we started to tour and started to play, we were with them. And on a couple occasions, they said, "Can you back us up tonight?" Can you do that? I said, "No, that's not our place at this time, you know." But we had 4 different circuits that we covered. One was the college concert circuit, which was the most arduous because we were doing all one-nighters. We'd go out usually on a Tuesday to open up somewhere on a Wednesday to spend, depending on the routing chart, because we played 4 nights, 4 one-nighters in a row. And we traveled with a big 35-foot bus. But we go out and we play a Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes a Sunday. And it didn't bother us that much at first, but when we saw how the work was set up, that was a different story. We didn't realize we were going from Washington, D.C., down to South Carolina, and then over to Kentucky, and then up to Chicago. It was crazy, but we covered a lot of schools, a lot of colleges, a lot of major colleges. We did some double headers where we played one college, and we had 2 sets of equipment. We played one college, and then we'd go out in the football field, and a helicopter would pick us up and then fly us over to another college. And that was great money, but you earned it. And anytime you're on the road, you earn it, because road life is not easy. Even if you have, my dad said to me, I can't stop you from going out on the road, but if you're going to do it right, but make sure that you watch out, he said, because that's when the sharks are going to come after you. And he was right about that, because anything and everything, everybody wants to buy you a drink, everybody wants to maybe sell you some drugs or anything else. But we experienced all that stuff, and good, bad, and indifferent. It was just pretty amazing. And the second circuit we covered the military bases, when we did your major military clubs, and that was good. They were nice clubs, big, and we did pretty well in that circuit. Then we started the I'll just call them bigger and better nightclubs. Okay, started out in the bigger and better nightclubs in Boston. The first place we played was called the Sugar Shack. And the Sugar Shack was in the combat zone. The Sugar Shack was a beautiful club, and I had to, I wasn't sure what's going on there, and they said, well, we want to talk to the leader of the band. So the manager of the club said, come on back, I want to talk to you. So I did, and he said, you're going to be here for a couple weeks. I said, yes, sir. And he said, we'll provide all the food for you for the next couple weeks. Or, dinner will be here every night. Anything you want, food, wine, beer, or anything else, let us know. And I'm going, what's anything else? Naive, young and dumb, Richard will attest to this. You grow through this because you don't always know. The first time out on the road is like, because you think, oh boy, we're doing something now. But it was a great learning experience besides all of that. Then we played, the next place we played was called Rockies in Brockton, Massachusetts. Because that's where Rocky Marciano was from originally. But we played a number of big clubs. Went to Florida, did a couple. Went to the Beach Club down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We played, just a number of different places. The club circuit was nice. It gave you a break. You were there, you weren't there for one night, so you could set up and just take it easy somewhat. But then the last circuit we worked was one that really was different. We did something that no other group in history has done. And and that was called the Chitlin Circuit. And the Chitlin Circuit were all the black theaters, okay, in the United States, and all the black, and also all the black clubs. They had your better clubs, so they were part of the Chitlin Circuit. And we weren't really sure that we were hearing about that it was right. They said, you're going to be playing the Uptown Theater in Philadelphia. I thought, wow. So our first experience there was kind of indifferent. Our record was Peace of Mind was #1 in Philadelphia for 8 weeks. So we went to the Uptown Theater, and there was a guy there, and he was the Uptown Theater. His name was Georgie Woods. And Georgie Woods was, as they said, the man with the goods. And I walked in, and we parked our bus right behind the theater. I walked in, and I said, I'm Bob Angelucci from the Magnificent Men. He said, oh, are you the manager? I said, no. He said, are you the road agent? I said, no. And he said, well, who are you? I said, I'm the leader and the drummer of the group. Oh, he said, oh, you're in the band that backs them up or something. I said, no, I'm in the band. And he said, I don't understand here. And he said, well, he said, no, the Magnificent Men, he said, they got the #1 hit right now in Philly. He said, but they're brothers, okay? They're brothers. And he said, and I said, no, we're not. So he said, I don't know about this. He said, he said, I'm going to be very frank with you, okay? The Chitlin Circuit is designed for black audiences, and black entertainment, okay? And he said, no offense. He said, but that's just how it is. So I said, well, we're supposed to open up here Tuesday, and it's kind of late to cancel the contract. He said, well, we'll see. So he had contacted William Morris Agency, who booked us into the Uptown Theater. That's who we ended up being booked through when we reached that level. We weren't a super success, but when we reached that semi-level of success, William Morris was handling us. And they got us a lot of great work. Make a long story short, though, when he called them and inquired, and they said, no, they're white guys. And he said, well, there must be some mistake here. He said, maybe it's the group is there's another Magnificent Men. He said, no. So then he called Jerry Blattett. And Jerry Blattett said, no. He said, no, they are who they are. So he hung up and he said, well, it's too late. He said, I don't have a 2-week notice here. I have to honor your contract. And he said, excuse my French, your white asses better be good. He said, because they will throw anything at you that they possibly can if they don't like you. And he said, I'm not kidding. So he didn't realize how we were, that we were a self-contained group. And we played our rhythm section, we had a horn section, background vocals, leads, everything, So he said, I don't know how I'm going to do this to introduce you. He said, all our acts, we have a 16-piece band here. And, he said, the artists just come off the side, the curtains are open. He said, I'm going to have to curtain the group. So I said, okay, that's fine, And he said, we'll introduce you, and then you can start playing. So he said, but wait till the curtain's up completely. So he introduced us, and the curtain went up, and this is the honest to goodness truth. The whole audience went, okay, and just for a split second, there was that hesitation. Well, when we started, I had never had a reception like that in my life. In all the different circuits we were playing, they went wild, okay? And we didn't know how to handle it because we thought, this can't be, this is strange, okay? You have other groups back in the 30s, a footnote to this is, back in the 30s, white artists played at the Apollo Theater, but no white artists ever headlined the black theaters. But then they changed their, at least at the Apollo, they went to all black entertainment for black audiences. But that's how the Howard was, and in Washington, and like I said, the Uptown and the Apollo, and I guess it was the Regal in Chicago. But nonetheless, we did very well in the theaters. We felt kind of odd because a lot of the people running the show with us were people we backed up before. And they all knew us, and they're coming over, hey, how you doing? And Georgie Woods is going like, how do they know these guys? But we backed them up, and that was the stepping stone of the Mad Men, where we went through that, went through the Chitlin circuit, both the clubs and and the theaters, and it was extraordinary. The one part that was really difficult is because the people we were backing up were people that we idolized. Okay, we were playing their music, we were playing their songs, and but we didn't play anything when we did our performances. We didn't play anything that they were doing on stage. We would never do that. The part that was tough for us to take is when we started being booked as the headliners at the theaters, because we thought, this is,